Yeah, Ali Madad. Welcome to the part three of the four-part webinar series on reinventing your business for the new normal, brought to you by the Economic Planning Board in conjunction with Diamond Trust Bank. Today, we shall focus on the topic related to enabling business growth through e-commerce and digital payments. My name is Farooq Kimji, and I will be your moderator for this evening's session. I have been with Diamond Trust Bank since 2004, and I'm currently responsible for the product and innovation teams, as well as the digital transformation for the bank. With people minimizing physical contact and businesses shut, e-commerce has gained popularity. E-commerce has already popular before COVID-19 hit our shores, with about a quarter of our businesses involved in it. As per the last economic survey, but it has become the new normal, along with measures related to the disease. In fact, in our region, a study shows that our payments ecosystem was already undergoing rapid transformation, but the pandemic will accelerate the impact of at least 3 to 5 years worth of expected changes in 2020 alone. E-commerce now ranges from the established businesses such as Jumia to the organized delivery services such as Glovo and Sendy to the neighborhood Boda Boda. Grocery stores also have shifted to the online ordering and delivery as their primary business. Doctors too have joined the bandwagon and have begun delivering telemedicine. COVID-19 will, inshallah, go away, but will e-commerce stay? To understand this further, I am joined by a distinguished panel who are subject matter experts in their respective fields. Firstly, we have Mr. Adam Jones. Adam is the Vice President and Area Business Head, East Africa for MasterCard. Adam joined MasterCard in 2015 as the Head of Commercial Products for Middle East and Africa, responsible for product sales across the region. In November 2018, he took on the position of Vice President and Area Business Head, East Africa for MasterCard. In his role, Mr. Jones is primarily focused on establishing the MasterCard brand presence in over 10 countries within East Africa. He is responsible for supporting the government, financial institutions, and other stakeholders in deploying innovative payment solutions to establish an inclusive, safer, and more secure payment ecosystem across East Africa. Secondly, we have Mr. Eran Feinstein. Eran is the co-founder and group CEO for the DPO Group, a leading African payment service provider headquartered in Kenya. Eran co-founded the DPO Group in 2006 after discovering a gap in the market for the technology to enable quick and easy online bookings for African airlines. DPO now operates in 19 countries across the continent, and its technology enables over 100,000 businesses, including 50 plus airlines, to securely make and receive payments online with all currencies and payment methods. We also have Mesh Alois. Mesh is an entrepreneur who is passionate about open technologies with a focus on mobile emerging technologies, logistics, and mobile payments. He is the founder and CEO at Sendy. Sendy is on a mission to make it easy for people and businesses to trade in Africa. Sendy started by delivering small packages but haven't stopped there. Today, they're empowering businesses to send raw materials to their production facilities and finished goods to their customers. Next, we have Alkarim Abji, an ambitious entrepreneur who is the managing director and co-founder of On the Way Supermarkets. On the Way Supermarket has grown organically that caters for a niche market using the concept of neighborhood shopping. On the Way has now made online transactions of which has enabled customers to shop with ease and make payments digitally. Lastly, we have Rahim Jivraj, who is the owner of the family-run Rosina's Restaurants. Rosina Restaurant, previously known as Fontanella, began operations in Mombasa in the year 1982 by Rahim's dad, Rafiq. Rahim joined the business in 2010 and in 2019 decided to open a branch in Nairobi. We're now ready to begin our session. The first person I would like to bring on board is Adam. Adam, kindly tell us what you are seeing in terms of trends globally within the African continent and locally in terms of the growth in e-commerce transactions?
Thank you, Farouk. I'd be delighted to speak on this subject. It's a pleasure to be involved in this in this discussion alongside this distinguished panel. These are interesting times, to say the least. You know, as we've seen historically, e-commerce is something that has been developing across all the markets around the world, at slightly different paces. But it's certainly becoming the norm in, shall we say, in the West, in Asia, and so on. And historically, or in more recent times, Africa as a whole has adopted e-commerce to a different degree depending on the country that we're in. South Africa is one of the leaders in terms of overall e-commerce. But something that's interesting that has happened, ever since COVID took place and in recent times, we've seen e-commerce start to rise significantly in terms of the total contribution it makes to the form of payment, to the method of payment. And there are many reasons associated with that, which I think I'd like to share with all the viewers. COVID is certainly seeing that further accelerate, as the presentation I'll now share will actually illustrate. So hopefully you can see my screen. Has that come up?
Yes, you're okay.
Very good. So what we found, Farouk, is actually e-commerce has become a major driver now within the form of payment that we're seeing across the world. What I've chosen here is to illustrate it particularly within the retail segment, because that's been one of the driving spaces for e-commerce as a whole. Now, as we look globally, e-commerce represents about 50% of the total form of payment as it takes place currently. And we've included all forms of e-commerce within that. So you can see the significance of it in terms of how people actually interact with businesses has really grown markedly, and it is, you know, it's soon become the major format for how we conduct transactions, because e-commerce allows itself to an omni-channel capability. It could be that you're transacting through your phone, it could be you're transacting through a laptop or a PC or something like that. So the actual format that the payment can take place is something that is increasingly in line with the lifestyles that we now lead, which are far more mobile by their very nature. Now, what's interesting is actually the growth levels as they've been presenting themselves globally, regionally, and locally. If you look to the graph, what you'll see on the left side of it is actually the exit point of 2019. So what we saw was actually, e-commerce was already almost double the growth level of traditional forms of payment in terms of the absolute growth numbers, and it was coming in at around 20% as we exited 2019. Now, what you see is you begin 2020 is a slight convergence, a drop down in the growth levels of e-commerce, maybe because it's post-celebration time, people aren't spending quite as much. But then it's very interesting in the area that I've actually circled. This is when the COVID effect really started to grab the globe. And we see an initial spike when we talk about card-present transactions. What that means is when individuals are actually going into shops to actually, interact with the retailer or whoever the service provider is. We saw, in effect, a rapid rise within that alongside e-commerce as there was a degree of panic buying that took place. And we saw many phenomena around the world, not least locally within Africa as well. But then you'll see a divergence as we go through from March through to April and then into May. We see physical transactions, so where someone may actually turn up within the store, is now at a growth rate of somewhere near around 1% globally, whereas e-commerce has almost doubled up to 34%. So we can see that e-commerce was already the primary driver for growth on a global stage. But the environment that we're all now operating in, where we're recognizing social distancing, where we're relying on service providers who are going to deliver goods and services to us, rather than actually going in and potentially interacting with the stores in the way that we traditionally would do, we've seen that growth rate really shoot up, as I say, up at 34%. Now, those trends are consistent when we look around the region and when we come down to a Kenyan level as well. So what we're seeing is a movement away from the need to actually walk into bricks and mortar stores. It's not going to go away, and we will see a return as we come into the post-COVID environment. But what it means is e-commerce has already firmly established itself as one of the major preferred forms of payment because of how easy it is to utilize. But what we're seeing now is that will continue to grow as we go forward. I think I'd like to touch maybe on a couple of trends that we're seeing. And it's very interesting to see how the new normal is actually playing itself out, and think maybe relevant for the audience that we have on today. We've seen a rise in terms of overall domestic relevance. Historically, global players, global suppliers, globally recognized brands can tend to dominate the transactional space. But as we've seen the world lock down, in many, many countries, we've seen the supply chains get squeezed. We've seen the ability to get goods into country has been challenged somewhat. And so what we see now is actually small, medium enterprises who are having challenges in terms of their ability to get maybe access to credit and things like that. But what we're seeing is their relevance growing, and we're seeing governments actually move behind them to actually increase the ability of the country to be able to produce and then distribute within. It means you're less reliant on international inbound goods. I think we'll start to see something around the supply chain. You know, as COVID took control, we actually saw the reliance on certain countries that were supplying into the Kenyan market actually reduce as they couldn't get the goods in a timely fashion, and so we're actually starting to see now supply chains developing at a smarter level, at a more local level, and so countries and Kenya and East Africa is no different, are actually starting to see how can they secure their supply chains. So that they don't have the concerns going forward in the event that it may not be a pandemic, but it could be, you know, something that compromises the ability of logistics to actually provide. So we see a rise in that domestic play, and e-commerce is obviously a significant enabler to be able to achieve that. I think we've seen some interesting trends in terms of the way payments are now being played. I've called this one the network effect, the Netflix effect. We're seeing a massive rise in terms of subscription-based shopping. So historically, when people are buying and paying on demand, and maybe the transactional process is something that's more focused on the offers or loyalty benefits or so on, Netflix has taught us something from the e-commerce space around having consistent, reliable revenue returns by offering affordable services of very high quality, but having a consistent price point and revenue line that will therefore come through. So we're seeing subscription-based shopping rise significantly, which obviously sits itself squarely within the e-commerce space. And you know, the e-commerce is, you know, the preferred mode of payment for a Netflix, for an Amazon, and so we're seeing it also from local providers as well. You know, where we see organizations that trade with, for example, DPO, who we have on today, with the likes of Jumia. They're taking card details, they're taking virtual card details, they're integrating them into the e-commerce gateways to allow people to be able to transact as and when they wish to. So it no longer becomes a contrived situation where you have to go out and buy. You can actually you react based on the stimulus that's actually taking place within your typical day-to-day life. I think one final point I would touch on, and this is why one of the reasons why I see e-commerce and digital payments will continue to grow at an even faster rate post the COVID environment. And that's actually been the desire within countries, from the government down to retailers. Even, you know, we've seen within the Matatu space within Kenya to move away from cash entirely and to move into digital e-commerce methods of payment, because they become a form of vaccine. They become a way of stopping the spread of virus. So when you see these kind of secular shifts, when you see these kinds of changes in the behavior of consumers, what you see is an even faster growth rate than the 34% that I showed earlier around e-commerce at a global level, which is equally being witnessed within Kenya and sub-Saharan Africa.
Thank you, Adam. This does give us some insight in terms of what's happening globally. If I can turn to Iran, in those markets that you operate, you said you operate in 19 markets in Africa. What are you seeing?
Thanks, Farouk. Well, I will be quite a very clear continuation to what Adam just mentioned. Because no doubt that most of the African markets are following the global trends. I know we operate, as you mentioned before, in 19 countries across the continent. We clearly see how e-commerce rises and get the front seat when it comes to online payments. I will start with a market which is the easy market. Take South Africa, a very big market for DPO. We saw huge growth over the last couple of months. Basically, we doubled in terms of volumes, our projected pre-COVID volumes. That means the typical SA consumer doubled their online shopping. We can see clearly that the balance between offline payments and online payments in South Africa changed dramatically. That's one example. In Kenya, where we place our headquarters, the DPO store, and we will discuss it a bit later, become a success story. SMEs, tiny supermarkets, restaurants, bigger supermarkets, electronics, and other stores, they're asking for online store. They want to be connected to an online payments platform. This is something we saw before, but not at this level. We definitely see a trend in that. Definitely see a change in that trend. Also, new initiatives, mainly driven by global players. Adam also mentioned global players. We see global players come to the markets, to all these markets, and they're looking for touchless payment solutions, in-store payment. They want to completely remove any friction. Even if it's a card, leave the card, use your phone and do a remote payment. We saw some very interesting requirements to implement touchless payments in gas stations over the till, and many other examples. In conclusion, I saw some statistics in the last couple of days. PayPal reported on a new active accounts growth of 135% year to year during April, which was a very bad month all across the world. Shopify, a 45% growth of first-time shoppers. It happens all over the world, and it happens also here. We can clearly see it in East, West, and Southern Africa.
Oh, thanks, Eran. Those numbers look staggering. I'll come to Mesh. Mesh, what are your thoughts? You're more grassroots, you're more localized, you're even in semi-urban areas, you're in rural areas. What are you seeing?
Yeah, what we're seeing, thanks for having me and together with the other panelists. What we're seeing every business moving towards online, servicing their customers online and delivering to them. Since this pandemic started, I think we've seen the growth, a tremendous growth. I would say over like a 3 times growth in terms of the need for deliveries to, home deliveries, but also business to business delivery. It's worth noting that these are conversations that a lot of these businesses were already having pre-COVID. And I think COVID is just accelerating that. One of the challenges that we saw earlier was a trust issue. But what we've seen so far is consumers are changing their behavior. And that behavior, we hope it sticks, and as businesses continues to go that direction. I would say right now, over 90% of our customers who previously didn't think about online deliveries or online commerce are now doing so, and they're implementing that. As Eran has just mentioned, either they're going through a platform like DPO's online channel, or they're actually using other channels. What we've also seen is a lot of people sell through WhatsApp. That's something that has been completely underrated in the last couple of months. But we see huge volumes being generated through WhatsApp, just small businesses selling to their customers through WhatsApp and enabling payments and also deliveries to those customers.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just WhatsApp. I mean, there's a lot of social media sales that goes on. People were selling on Facebook, social media, WhatsApp, Twitter. And I think that's what's really increasing this growth of e-commerce. And I think we need to figure out a way of how to bring this whole ecosystem together that makes it easy for merchants to make sales. Adam, MasterCard recently announced that they would connect 1 billion people, 50 million small businesses, 25 million women entrepreneurs to the digital economy by 2025. A very, very powerful statement. In 2 to 3 minutes, just tell us what this is all about.
The announcement, I'm pleased to say, was a continuation of the work that we'd already started. So we came out with the first announcement in 2015, where we said we'd financially include 500 million people into the financial ecosystem. We successfully achieved that within the timeline that we set, and the goal of the organization, I think, it is the mantra which is laid down from our CEO, which is, MasterCard does well by doing good. So our intentions are to, grow the commerce space, to grow inclusion in all of its facets. As you rightly touched on, the expansion now is beyond just financially including individuals. It's growing to include the SME base. It's growing to include diversity for female business owners and so on. What we're trying to do is grow the overall ecosystem for the betterment of the planet. Now, we do that in a few different ways. We've developed, for example, a financial inclusion lab, which is based here in Nairobi, which has been developing solutions which are being deployed now all around the world, but have been developed within Africa. So, for example, we have the MasterCard Farmers Network, which is a solution which brings digital transparency to the agriculture space and means that farmers can get a fairer price for their products. That's actually been developed in Nairobi. That's been deployed in Tanzania. Now it's been exported to India. And it means that we're driving commerce within the agricultural space to ultimately push up the revenues and empower those farmers that are out there. And so it continues within our educational platforms, which allow parents and caregivers to be able to make payments on behalf of the pupils in a way that they can afford. We've developed solutions to allow for off-grid electricity capability or access through things like QR payments in Uganda. And so it goes on, enabling digital credit within the SME space right here in Kenya with the Jazaduka system, which allows for free of charge credit to be accessed by those SMEs. So by setting these challenging targets, which are ultimately for the betterment of the planet, we hope by doing that we grow the overall business environment for the benefit of everyone, and ultimately maybe didn't have the opportunity before.
Adam, one more thing that MasterCard also did was make a huge investment into Jumia. What was that all about?
So I think we recognized a few years ago that African growth is about innovation. Africa has jumped so many evolutionary steps when it comes to things like payment with the mobile money world, with the ability to transact digitally. And it's exactly the same within general retail. So we see e-commerce as ultimately the driver for growth across Africa. It allows Africa to trade across Africa, across all of the boundaries, but also then transact internationally. So by investing in Jumia, who are the biggest e-commerce player out of Africa, we saw an opportunity to actually have a multiplier effect on the Jumia capabilities that would ultimately benefit MasterCard card holders and customers, and allow us to help set the trends for e-commerce going forward in association with a strong partner.
So is MasterCard a card company, a technology company, or fintech?
We've actually now got restaurants in Italy, and we've got restaurants in Manhattan. So I don't know. I think we do a bit of everything. But ultimately, we're a technology company. We don't actually issue cards. We provide the network infrastructure. We are the banking, the bank-to-bank network in the United Kingdom, the Fast ACH network. We're the Fast ACH in the United States, in Thailand, and so on. So we operate across anywhere that data is transferred and value is transferred.
Perfect. Mesh, one of the biggest challenges that e-commerce had in our market, or if I can extend that to the African market, was a logistic issue.
Yes.
If you look at Amazon and you look at other players out, I mean, when I studied in Canada, there was a lot of eBay going on. But one of the things that really assisted in that e-commerce transactions to grow was logistics, because there's postal services that people rely on. The postal addresses are correct, and you know for a fact you will get your delivery. What's Sendy doing in this market?
Yeah, I mean, what Sendy is doing, essentially, I mean, we exist as a business to make it easy for other businesses to trade. So how we make it easy for you to deliver to your customers, whether that's consumers or businesses. But I'll just, Farouk, I'll just argue that, I mean, we often say that the biggest revolution that has happened in Africa has been the mobile phone. I actually argue the opposite, that the biggest revolution has been the border, the motorcycles. These motorcycles have actually opened up Africa. I mean, we're seeing it in the countries that we operate in across East Africa. You can literally deliver anything, anywhere using those motorcycles, something that businesses weren't able to do before. And what Sendy is doing is aggregating that, looking at, we have this infrastructure, we have all these people that are driving borders or motorcycles around. How do we enable that in a formal way to enable businesses to also use that infrastructure to deliver directly to consumers? And we've been able to do that, not just only with motorcycles, but with pickups and trucks. And this has enabled a lot of businesses, from large supermarkets, from the multinational, to even the small businesses who are using our platform. So we cannot reduce that distance between a business thinking about going online or servicing their customers remotely or using that channel to sell, to days or investment that they would have had to make to do that, to a click of a button.
Awesome. So what is, I mean, Sendy having a mobile app or?
Yeah, so what we do is we provide a mobile app and a web application that you can access anywhere using your computer, using your phone. And with just a push of a button, you can request for a delivery person to come and pick your item and deliver to your customers. So whether that's going to go on a motorcycle or on a pickup truck or on a larger truck, but it's crossing the border. So just with the push of a button, you're able to do that and send it.
Awesome. Eran, one of the other challenges that has posed e-commerce in this market has been the customer confidence, primarily around fraud. What is you doing to safeguard both yourself as well as the customer that's shopping online?
You know, it's a great question, Farouk, because trust is a key element, basic element when it comes to e-com and online payments. Especially now when out of the sudden it's like a big bang all across not only Africa, across the world, that lots of merchants for the first time are now being exposed to that. And you're right, for us DPO, trust must be a key element, as I mentioned before. And we are looking at both sides. One is the merchant, and the other one is the consumer. You know, usually everyone speaks on the consumer, but let's start with the merchant, and this is one of the main reasons that we are here. Because if the merchant will not feel comfortable and secure, they will not promote their e-com shop, their e-shop. And if the customer on the other side also will not feel secure, they will not pay online, and e-com will just not work. From the merchant perspective, you know, I thinking of looking at what we say comfort. What is comfort for the merchant? From the merchant side, comfort is related first to the technology. You know, if you, exactly as Mesh just said, it needs to be a technology that they can access from the mobile, from their laptop, from their desktop. Does this technology meet the relevant standards? I'm not saying every merchant needs to know everything, but we all know the internet, and we know when we are dealing with technology that we cannot trust. Then comfort is also related to my funds. How available my funds are, how fast these funds can be in my account once the customer paid. Another level of comfort from the merchant side is related for the cost of that e-com platform. It must be cost effective, otherwise the merchant will feel unsecured. From the consumer side, also that's a big space when it comes to e-com and payment. All platforms, all of them must be secure. There are standards. I always explain my team that in that space, if you are not professional, just don't be there. You need to follow the global security standards, by which is set by companies like MasterCard. This is part of the thing they do. They provide us with a list of requirements, and then once a year they come and ask us to present that we follow these protocol and these standards. Most important, and that's the most important thing all across the world, is the customer private data, private information. And companies and platforms as DPO, we must follow the rule. You need to present those security certificates. You need to run through audits. You need to work very closely with banks like your bank, like DTB, and to make sure that the whole platform is secure. Bottom line, if it's not secured, it won't work. Simple as that.
Perfect. I hope that gives members some kind of assurance that there are measures put in place to mitigate some of the risks that do come with the new technology that's coming our way. Now I'd like to go to the next part of the webinar, where I'd like Eran to start us off. Eran, maybe you can tell us, if a merchant wants to come on board today, what does he need?
Actually, it's quite simple. Allow me, I prepare a few slides. Okay, I'm sure it can elaborate a bit. Let me just find it quickly. Yes, I'm there. Let me see if you can see my presentation.
You're good to go.
Cool, excellent. To make it simple, what we are trying to help merchants is to take, if you look at the left side of the display, to take their physical shop and just, put it online, put it within a laptop. And merchant needs to look at a very clear and easy concept. It must be a quick setup. It must be easy to use for the merchant and user-friendly for their consumers. Otherwise, it won't work. How many of us as small merchants got an IT division or IT specialist? I will take our product. There are other products, very good products in the market, but today I will focus on our product. We call it the DPO store, where we help merchants to reinvent their business. The concept is to provide a merchant with an e-com website that they will be able to sell their products online. Simple as that. Of course, it must be connected to a payments platform, so the customers will be able to pay online. It doesn't matter if it's a mobile money, card, or whatsoever, any other form of payment. In simple words, I'm sure you recognize that. On the way now, the website should be clear, straight to the point. I will present two examples that we can go through other website. And we try to provide the merchant with the option to get that website very, very quickly. The merchant will be asked to register online. They will ask to send what we call their shop details, a few paragraphs about your shop, your location, when you are open, if the customer wants to connect with you. Prepare a list of products and images. Once this information is ready, then it moves to the DPO store team. They will create a DPO store. They will upload the products. We do it for the merchant, so the merchant can continue and do their job while we prepare the website. This can take between a few hours to 2 or 3 days, depends how complicated that story is. And that's it. In the final phase, 1 or 2 hours, merchant will be trained very quickly. Say, okay, I'm ready to go live, and go live. Since the COVID came to our region, we launched dozens of these stores, for example, in Kenya, and the process is a very simple, very straightforward one. Also, marketing support. Okay, the shop is there, but what now? So we provide what we call a marketing support from our end. There are plugins for Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. If you are not there, no one can see you. Connectivity to Google Analytics, and you can check which customers abandon your website during the shopping process. We provide digital and in-store banners. You know, since we deal here with lots of shops, so the customer used to come to the shop, let's put some banners there. You know, it's great that we can see you this morning, but do me a favor, tomorrow, shop online. Here is the address to my website. Additional features, discount and gift vouchers. We found, for example, those merchants which works with those influencers. You know, so you find someone on Twitter goes or on Instagram and say, you go to that restaurant and we will give you a gift voucher. And many other advanced tools that can be used, but that's a bonus. Now, most important, and this is why I'm so happy that Mesh is here. At the end of the day, you said, you're right, it's all about logistics. So I shopped online. I want my meal, or I want my milk, or I want my products at my house. What we did, a very, very, I can say, cool integration with Sendy, where there is a real-time connectivity within the DPO store in Sendy. So at real time, we allow the customer to put on a map their location. We will calculate, Sendy, we will send them the location and they will calculate the exact cost. We will notify Sendy that there is now there is a new order from this specific shop. And last but not least, we will arrange the payment between the shop and Sendy behind the scene, the B2B payment. I don't know, some examples, for live websites. This is Art Cafe. They're doing a very, very, very good job to take the website to DPO store to be a state-of-the-art website. Dance Center. They sell products which are relevant for young kids which dance ballet. Restaurant, if you're hungry, fresh products straight from the Shamba. So there is a lot you can do with this simple website. We will share with all the community members later a very simple online form where they can get they can get started. So in essence, it must be simple. It must be very simple, especially for those tiny merchants. They got no time for complicated processes.
Thank you, Eran. And we'll quickly get into Mesh. Eran commented about B2B. I'm not sure if many people know what B2B is. Maybe if you can spend a few minutes taking us through what B2B is and what you are doing in this market.
Yeah, so I'll just share my screen. I hope you can see my screen.
We're good to go.
Yeah, so I'll just mention that, we're working closely with Eran to just help businesses, small businesses deliver to their consumers. But what I want to speak about today for this group is we talk a lot about helping businesses deliver, go to e-commerce and deliver to the consumers. But often we leave out the business-to-business side of things. So what about the businesses that sell to other businesses? We talk about businesses that sell to other consumers or consumers to consumers. So I want to talk about B2B. So as Sendy, as I mentioned earlier, I mean, we exist to just power businesses by making it easier for you to trade. And what we're now doing for the last couple of months, the last 6 months, what we've been able to do is put together tools that will help businesses trade also with other businesses. If you're into a B2B, if you're within the B2B business setup. And what we do is we enable you to sell more. So what we do is connect you directly to your buyers. This is your business buyers. So this could be retailers. So we've mapped about 5,000 retailers across Nairobi. We continue to map across the country as well. And what we do for businesses is we, on our platform, you're able to list your products and instantly we connect you to those retailers that are able to buy. There's nothing in between. There's no middleman in between to handle your transactions. And I'll just walk you through how you can achieve that. So how that works is very simple. So the retailers that we've mapped, the 5,000 retailers that we've mapped across Nairobi as a start, have an interface where they're able to place an order. They'll see your business. They'll place an order from you. Once they place an order, they make payment. We send you the order as a supplier. You process those payments. And then with our over 10,000 vehicles across the country, whether it's a motorcycle or a pickup truck, we'll come and pick the order and we'll deliver it to the business that ordered from you. And we'll arrange the payments for you once the delivery is confirmed. So it's so simple. It's so simple to get started and to get it done. And just to recap, I mean, the platform is set up such that you have access to these retailers across Nairobi and very soon across the country, and also the other countries that we operate in, so that you can sell more to these people. You also don't have to worry about your supply chain. So what we do is we plug this on top of our delivery vehicle fleets that will pick up the products from you and deliver to these businesses anywhere, anytime. Again, whether that's on a motorcycle or it's on a pickup truck, we'll make sure we pick it and deliver it for you. The other thing we do is we've also partnered with financial institutions, and we enable these retailers when they're buying from you to get access to credit. That means you get paid faster. So you don't have to wait for days to be paid. So days or months to be paid. We enable you to get paid faster once you list your products on our B2B platform. The other thing we do is we enable you. We give you tools. So on your side, you'll have tools that you can access on your mobile phone. You can access on your computer. You get instant notification on orders that are coming through. We automatically generate purchase order for you. We automatically generate delivery notes, return notes for you, and you're able to track live your ongoing orders and which particular retailer you're actually servicing at that particular point. The other thing we do is, of course, express transportation. So what we do with retailers that buy from you, we guarantee them next day delivery, which is automated from our side, and their orders are consolidated from the suppliers that list their products on the platform. Again, I'll just talk about the seamless delivery that happens. As Iran has just mentioned, I mean, e-commerce, and this case is B2B commerce, is nothing when a delivery is not there. And of course, returns are not there. And we enable that to be seamless across the entire transaction that happens. And to get started is very simple. I mean, as a business, if you want to sell to retailers, that ranges from the shops that you see, for example, a Shell Select shop, to a small shop down the corner in a small neighborhood. We have access to all that, and they're ordering from our platform. And we bring all the suppliers on that platform. Very simple to get started. We'll share this with Farouk to share with you. Very simple to get started. First thing is contract signing. We onboard you, and then you receive your first order. This typically takes about 3 days to do. 3 days to do that, depending on how complex or how your business is set up. And it's that simple, Farouk.
Mesh, you talked about 10,000 vehicles, trucks. You own
Yes.
those 10,000?
So we don't own. So we're a technology company, as Sandy. So we are a technology company. What we do is we get all these vehicles on the platform and we formalize them, train them, brand them, and present them to businesses to be able to use them to deliver. The goods are insured. So with that formalization, we're able to use that data to provide to the insurance companies. That means your goods are insured along the way. You can track where your delivery is. So we bridge that trust by being the custodian of the processes and the formalization of that whole delivery process.
Mesh, I'm sure, I mean, our topic was more concentrated around e-commerce payments, but what happens if there are members in the community who do have some trucks or some vehicles who want to be part of this? How do they get on board?
So easy to get on board. I'll give you the details. You share with, if there are members in the community, you have trucks. And we've seen that actually. We've seen a lot of businesses have their vehicles sitting idly. And of course, that's an asset to them. And either they're servicing that by paying up a loan or so. What we've seen most businesses do is put those trucks on our platform such that when they're not busy, those trucks are servicing another business. Think about it this way. You have an asset today lying in your backyard or lying in your business yard. The business next door requires that service. So what we do is we bridge that gap.
Awesome. Jamaati members, I hope you've been enjoying this session. And we've talked about what e-commerce is going to do, what it has done, and what the future will look like. Having said that, I'd like to now bring on Al-Karim to tell us about a live example of what he's done in his business so that it gives some of you comfort.
Hi, Farouk. Thank you very much, and I really appreciate being on board this seminar. The digital platform really works for us, and I'm more than happy to share my experience with the Jamaati members.
So, Al-Karim, Kenya first announced its first case in March. There was a lot of impulse purchase. What did that mean for you?
Well, it meant two things: sudden influx, and the sudden influx was. We had seen this happen around the world, and we noticed that we might need to be ready for this. So we were kind of prepared, but you can't be 100% prepared for any of this. We had a plan, but it needed to be implemented. It was only a plan, and until it didn't happen, we couldn't implement it. But when it happened, it involved, the first thing was managing our staff, becoming safe ourselves. So we had to quickly train the staff how to manage the influx of people, how to keep safe, using masks, using sanitizers. And then the other thing was we had to put a system into place to manage the goods were on the shelf. We would be able to stock for about 60 days. And that 60-day stock was over in less than 7 days. So how do we get goods back onto the shelves without losing the customer? We had to be quick. We had to create our own logistics network. We had to retain our clients by making sure our stores are full all the time. All right, and we had to start considering how to get less people into our stores and still run our business.
So obviously with these regulations of social distancing, a phenomenon not known to many, what did that mean for you?
Initially, it is social distancing. You see, with any new legislation, there is a phase of adaptation, and change is difficult to accept to many. Our customers were not used to the way we had to make them queue outside our stores. They were not used to that we had queues at the tills that were 1 meter apart. They always want to move forward. So we had to put in new policies and procedures that needed to be implemented, and it frustrated customers. And we were the first point of education. Before the government legislations came out, we already knew, so we had to educate them by putting signage, posters, and it took some time, but the customers did get used to it. So communication strategies needed to change as well. So we had to put up on social media our rules and regulations, and that adaptation took time. The staff was the most important. We had to make sure that the staff were able to communicate from a further distance and be very clear. We had to train them on speech. We had to train them on how to protect themselves. It all synergized at some point, but initially it was very difficult.
And obviously then that led you to digital platforms.
Exactly.
I know you started off with WhatsApp. What made you think of WhatsApp?
Well, you see, we actually started this off in February before the COVID-19 hit us, and it was just a pilot project, and we didn't know we'd use it in this way. But it was good luck that we did set up the structure, and it was immediately available. We started our personal shopper system within a week, and we just had to invest in the new technology, we had to add more tills, because we were from 5 to 7 orders a day. We were hitting 50 orders a day on WhatsApp. People didn't want to come in-store shopping. They just wanted somebody to get their goods to them. And then we started thinking, how do we get online? That was our next stage.
So tell us about online.
Online, well, we contemplated a lot of e-commerce solutions. We have our own website. All these months we've been preparing to get online, but nothing really did it for us like COVID-19. It gave us a boost, and we chose DPO instantly when they presented to us because it was the easiest, quickest, and most trusted way to get online. They got us several solutions. We found that DPO was the best solution for us. It was the easiest way to get online for us. Instead of using our own e-commerce platform, which would be cumbersome and it would take long, and then I had to integrate payment methods and figure out how to link M-Pesa and credit card payment systems or cash on delivery, which was totally, it is not encouraged to have cash on delivery anymore. So DPO really helped us out. We managed to get 1,200 products within 14 days on our website, and DPO did all the work behind the scenes. We just had to get the website marketed and people would be able to shop.
So has this now changed customer behavior?
Yes, it has. Being a brick and mortar store, we were always, looking forward to having our stores full, but we were still running our shop, even without having the stores packed up like they used to be. So people have options. They go online. It's at their convenience. They can shop in the middle of the night if they want. They can do stress-free shopping online. So it has changed the perception, and we are constantly adding products. And then I'm sure at some point my whole store will be online.
Awesome. Does that mean you don't need to build brick and mortar now?
No, I will say that online is an option, but there's still the traditional touch with brick and mortar. We have to be able to have a physical location where people can come in and then convert to online. We want to do a cycle. New people come into the store, we convert them to online to join the old.
Awesome.
So for us, brick and mortar is important, and it'll only get better.
Awesome. Good strategy. Thanks, Al-Karim.
Welcome.
I will now get Rahim, who's in the restaurant business. Rahim, what made you move to digital platforms, and how did you get to know about these digital platforms?
Farooq, first, thank you for this. This was very interesting to learn about Aaron and from Mashak and Adam and how this whole thing works, because you never know what's on the backside. But this is very interesting. So basically, we started with Jumia for online deliveries because we hadn't started our own deliveries. So Jumia started last year in October, and it has been doing really well for us. But basically, we read about and heard about Glovo, Jumia, and Uber Eats from friends, family, obviously webinars that were organized. Looked at how other countries were dealing with the pandemic, and if you notice, most of the countries are all online because obviously the developed world knows about e-commerce and how it works and how easy it is to work with them. So then obviously I searched online for all these particular like DPO, Glovo, Jumia, and I got their sale agents to come in, spoke to them, learned how it works, and it was quite easy after that. They just connected us, and after the pandemic hit, we got connected to mostly all of them. I think I'm online with everyone. And it's made life really easy for me, especially on the takeaways, because payments are coming through, you have everything on.
Being on these platforms, does it help you?
Yes, a lot actually, because it helps with the marketing, it helps with direct payments, new clients. It makes life so much easy.
So obviously using these platforms brings their customers to your store as well, right?
Yes, new clients, because you see, these are online platforms. You get different clients, not only the ones that you are with, but new clients who didn't even know I existed. But now that we are on all those platforms, because of their marketing strategy, which we would never know about, they have basically brought about 20-30% of new clientele base. So they keep ordering. They never knew I was there. And here I am. I have a new clientele base.
So even though there used to be customers who used to come in, are you
Yes.
seeing them order online?
Yes, actually, those people who used to come in the evening and because of the curfew, they can't make it and they still want to have Rosina product, they would just go on DPO or Glovo or Jumia and order because they work until late. So it makes a big difference for us.
And have your sales increased online or?
Yes, actually, well, there are three sections to this. The first is I wasn't accessing clients due to the curfew. So that particular client base that I had lost has come back. Then obviously the new clients bring up at least another 20-30% increase in sales, which has made a big difference for us.
And are you using any other digital platforms?
Yes, actually, just a second. So we have Paybill, we have our online website, we have the PDQ machines working. We have all these platforms that are online, like WhatsApp as well. Like people send me the order on WhatsApp and I send it to them with our own rider. And it makes a huge difference.
Thank you, Rahim. This brings us to a close to today's webinar. And in conclusion, a rapidly changing world continues to impact consumer behavior. We've talked a lot about consumer behavior and also creating new challenges and opportunities. Digital commerce and connectivity continues to grow exponentially. Consumers expect everything to be digital and instant. Consumers have a growing dependency with their connected devices, and consumers have a strong affinity to the digital brands that they use. We hope that the Jamaati members have found today's session beneficial and look forward to having you with us next week, same time, for the last part of the series, Marketing Your Business in the Digital Age. For Jamaati members who would be interested in any of these products that we have discussed today, kindly contact the Business Resource Center that's situated at Parklands, Khane. Ya Ali Madad, and we hope you have a good evening.